Hey VC, what's up? It's me, yours truly. I am back to post a quick video here, and this is going to be my answers to my 6,000 subscribers contest. Of course, I'm not entering the contest, but um, these were the albums and stuff that I thought about that actually motivated me to ask the questions that I asked. So I just thought it might be kind of, you know, just kind of neat to share that and let you guys know just kind of what sparked me asking the questions in the first place. So yeah, let's just kind of jump right into it. The first question I asked was to kind of share a song or songs, whatever, however many you wanted, with scary lyrics or lyrics that really creeped you out. There's a lot of stuff that creeps me out, so to speak. Even stuff that's not scary stuff, but just weird feels that I get from things. And I always use Roxy Music as a great example with Avalon and More Than This. Those songs kind of creep me out to some degree, but I love them. Another great one I could have thrown in there was Dead Next Door by Billy Idol. That song's probably not as well known, but it's kind of creepy too. But really the two songs that made me, really think about that question, and these arguably are two of the scariest songs out there, also keeping, Black Sabbath self-titled out of the mix here. But the first I'm going to go with is the song The Legend by this band called Pallbearer. As you can see, that's actually an autographed copy. I got a chance to meet them, saw them a few years ago, the show they did. It's really cool too, because after the show, they're just chilling out by their van, just, sitting around talking and whatever else, and just like walked right up to them, just hung out with them for a little bit and got their autographs. Very cool. But anyway, the song that I think is just scary as heck on here is a song called The Legend. Just this perfect mixture between like the heavy darkness of, sludgy type of slow, heavy, thick guitar, but then also like almost this scary type, not scary, but almost fear-based type of vocal. You just have to go listen to it, and it'll really completely blow your mind. It's an amazing song. It's so beautiful and so scary at the same time. But what I did do, I kind of pulled up some of the lyrics here just to read you a quick bit. But the lyrics go, "As I gaze from my tower, I can see him lurking, watching, flickering in the gloom light of funeral pyres. Immortal specter waiting in the shadows for his time to emerge and close my eyes forever. Who is this figure shrouded in the veil of death?" And that's one of the lines, and the way he sings it in the song that creeps me out the most is that, who is this figure shrouded in the veil of death? Why does he seek me to inflict his curse upon my head? From beyond the realm of man, he speaks with words like thunder, casting condemnation upon my wounded soul. No more to breathe the air and feel the warmth of summer. As I start to slip away, I know my time has come. And again, when you mix that with the music and the way he delivers those lyrics, that song is freaking creepy. It definitely gives me the creeps. So that was one of the songs that motivated that. The second one, I'm actually going to show the CD because the vinyl's hanging on the wall, because I had a chance to see these guys too, and was also able to meet them and got some autographs, which were awesome. Too bad I didn't have the CD at the time. But Graveyard, Singing Blues. Same thing, and the song here is the Siren. That's the song that, again, is just freaky, freaky, freaky. And again, just to kind of give you an idea about the lyrics, I was captive on a slave boat, rowing through the swamp. They threw me off into the lake of alligators. Eyes were glowing in the dark, and fear was in the air. As the beasts were closing in, panic struck my mind. Swimming through the mud, yes, I was swimming through the mud, and 1,000 flamingos led my way riding to the feast, for I was going to meet my doom. And it's kind of a real slow, very like almost Allman Brothers, just real easy, almost like he's singing in his sleep. But then when the chorus kicks in and he says, Tonight a demon came into my head and tried to choke me in my sleep. One of the closest things I've ever heard since Ozzy in Black Sabbath saying, "Oh no, no, please God help me." The way he sings and delivers "Tonight a demon came into my head and tried to choke me in my sleep" is like in my opinion, the closest I've ever felt to that Ozzy moment from that original Black Sabbath. I mean, just creepy. And then he goes back into the soft part again. I thought it was a feast of friends, but Lord, they proved me wrong. What seemed to be my rescue turned out to be a trap. Suddenly I was alone inside the demon's house. He climbed the walls with blood, a murder glowing through his eyes, and I couldn't escape. And every move I made was wrong. And he goes right back into, "Tonight a demon came into my head and tried to choke me in my sleep." I mean, if those lyrics weren't creepy enough, definitely go check that song out if you haven't heard it. Beautiful, bluesy, scary. I mean, just an awesome, awesome track. So that was the answer to question number 1. So those are my two scary lyrics and really creep me out. Question number 2: what is the most stressful part of your collecting process? And I said you couldn't use money as your answer, because I think all of us kind of have that problem. I share a lot of the problems that all of you guys, kind of talked about with, cleaning and stuff stacking up and listening and, our processes, going through the process. But the stress that motivated me to ask that question is the threat of new release to Grail status almost overnight. It is one thing that stresses me out a lot. And again, I'll explain, because just like all of you, I kind of have a budget, and I have to, can only pick and choose certain things at certain times, because I don't have all the money in the world. But one of the things that really brings a lot of stress and anxiety to me is I could be out digging, and I'll come across something where I had no idea this had been released, and then my first thought becomes, oh wow, they finally released this on vinyl. That's great. Is this one of those pieces that's marked at $22.99 right now, but 6 months from now, it's going to be $100? They're going to be going for $150. Like, they're going to go right from new release, here it is, fresh into the store, to just a few months later, instant Grail status. And then you're like, oh, God, I wish I would have picked that up when it first came out. I actually had a copy in my... So, that is something that just stresses me out like crazy, especially with all the new releases that's coming out. Because I'll sit there and get worried where, okay, maybe I don't really want to buy this today. I wasn't planning on spending $25 for this, but is this going to be that Grail status thing? Because I have a lot of Grails in my collection, and I'll share these with you when I do my room tour, that were just that. I bought them brand new, off the shelf, with plenty of them sitting there for your $22.99, $19.99, and all of that. And 1 year later, they're going for, 100 this and the, you think of stuff like the last Van Halen record, perfect example. That was a $25 record, and thank God I bought it, the week or two after it came out. No big deal. I remember there were plenty of them on the shelf. Those are running you $150 now. What's another good example? God, there's a bunch. I say again, I'll show you more of those when I actually do my room tour. But yeah, that makes a big difference, because I also recall when the Cranberries, everyone else is doing it, blah blah blah. I was like, when that first got reissued, that's one I wanted for so long. Number one, they had not reissued it forever. Original pressings were hard to find and running, $150, $200 or whatever. And so, like, oh, here it is. And I remember sitting in the store that day, and I was like, is this just a regular $22.99 record, or 6 months from now or a year from now, these are going to be going for $125? And so I went ahead and bought it that day, even though it wasn't on my priority list, and I sacrificed buying some other things. Well, the Cranberries, that record is still in stores today, and it's going still for $20. So that didn't turn Grail status. That is something that really, really stresses me out, is basic new releases turning Grail status overnight, because you're sitting there with them in your hands. What what's Ozzy Osbourne's last record? Scream. I had 2 copies of those. You know, I bought one. One had a little bitty nick on the corner. And so then I went and bought another one I found somewhere else that was mint. And I thought, yeah, I'll take that one back sometime. And I held on to both copies for probably a month, something like that. And finally, I was like, okay, yeah, let me go ahead and return this so, you know, I won't forget about it. And I'll, you know, within the 90 days or the 30 days or whatever. And I took it back. So, you know, I had two copies of Ozzy Osbourne's Scream. And I took one of them back and got my $22 or $23 back. And of course, you know what those are going for today. So that stresses me out. That's what motivated that question. Number 3, 3 songs that played a significant part in 3 major events in your life. And that one was a little tough too, because music has been such an important part of my life that pretty much every event is connected to music somehow. So it was hard to sort them out, so I just randomly picked 3. And so I'll start with the first one, which is, again, one you've heard me answer with a number of different contest questions. Billy Idol's Rebel Yell. And I actually should pick the cassette here because this is the actual copy, this actual one here, that I got back in 1984, 85, somewhere right around there. And this was when my dad got a new teaching job, and I've told that story about us moving across country into a completely new environment, you know, knew everything when I was first introduced to new wave and hard rock and metal and all that good stuff. And Billy Idol's Eyes Without a Face was one of the first songs, first artists that completely introduced me to, you know, kind of the music world that I know today, and just everything that I didn't know to prior. So even though Eyes Without a Face is not necessarily my favorite Billy Idol song, it's definitely the song that represents the moment where, especially as a child, my life took a complete and total 180 turn, and I was open to so many things that I had no idea even existed. So that just this album in general was very significant, and it's also why I kept this actual copy of the cassette. So this thing has followed me around for 30 plus years now, which is insane. The second thing, this is one I thought about because I think it was around my freshman year, somewhere around there in high school, was when I actually had my kind of first girlfriend, if you will. And this is just kind of complete coincidence because, see, back then, we didn't have these things called smartphones. You know, you had your phone at home with a 30-foot cord that was on it, or you had payphones, right? So I had met this girl in school. We had spoke a couple of times. I was at our school. This on a Saturday. We're getting ready to take a basketball trip. We're going to play a Saturday game. And so while I'm at the school, I go to the payphone and call her. And so we're talking and everything. And it's kind of when we first set our very first date. And she was the girl that I ended up dating for a little while. Her name is Corey. And so after I hung up, you know, of course, it's like really kind of the first date, not the, you know, stuff you may do in junior high or grade school, but actually that first date. And I remember going and getting on the bus, and it just so happened that this cassette is what was in my Walkman. And the first song that came on, where it happened to be, was the song "Feel So Good," which I guess was kind of, you know, kind of fade at that point. So every time I hear that song, "Feel So Good," you know, that song definitely kind of represents that first, I guess, transition from the, you know, the boy you are to the man you became with your very first actual date. So I think that's pretty significant as far as a moment from childhood. And so then from there, you know, we got transitioning to a completely different environment, transitioning to manhood, and then transitioning to independence. New Order, Substance. And this album, especially the song Bizarre Love Triangle, when I think about leaving home for the first time and going off to college, the song Bizarre Love Triangle is definitely one that really, really identifies with that time period. because I moved, away from home, going away from home for the first time. I meet my meet my new roommate, who's one of my basketball teammates, and then we have two suite mates. So it's two different rooms, you share one bathroom. Well, my suite mate was this soccer player. I believe his name was Joey, was his name, and we used to have what was called free hours. So between 5 p.m. to 7 p.m., you could play your music as loud as you want. If you had guitars or whatever, like you can be as loud as you want in the dorms from 5 to 7. Well, my suite mate, right after we got to college, one of the first weeks, he threw on New Order, and he's playing, and I hear Bizarre Love Triangle for the first time, and I'm like, what is that? I mean, I thought it was just like the most awesome thing ever. Again, just some of the music I had not been introduced to at that point in time. I was really, on board with more of the hip hop thing, and still doing the hair metal thing and all of that. So when he played that, it's just kind of one of those moments that just kind of let me know I was in a different place. And it's also the moment I became friends with him. So it was one of the first people I reached out to and became new friends with and all that. So yeah, Bizarre Love Triangle definitely marks that transitioning to independence, if you will, by going off to college. So those are kind of 3 songs and 3 major events, if you will, in life. Question number 4, 1 to 5 songs about places you've actually been or would like to go. I'll start off with, I picked 1 with places I would like to go. And so, of course, just like heaven, of course I like to go to someplace just like heaven. Or actually just heaven. Heaven would be fine. So I had to pick that one out just based on, principle. But that's The Cure. That's the 12-inch single for Just Like Heaven. And then I picked 4 places I've actually been. So, of course, been to Detroit. So, Detroit Rock City is definitely one you have to put in there. The one I mentioned in the video that made me, think about asking that question in the first place was, a few months ago when I was driving through Allentown out there in PA. That's what made me think about this question in the first place. So, gotta show that one. And I have been to London. So, of course, London Calling. Definitely one. Got to show there. And then the very last one. My father originally was from Africa. First generation here in America. And so, Toto, Africa is definitely one I have to put on there because I have been to Africa. So those are kind of my quick 1 to 5 songs. And then last question, ask 2 people you never spoke about music with about their favorite 3 bands. I actually asked quite a few. I enjoyed doing it so much the 1 or 2 times I did it that I just actually kind of do it for fun now. So again, that was kind of motivated why I thought about the question. And I mentioned that Billy Hurst and I were out at lunch one day, and I asked the waitress that was serving us, I asked her who her favorite 3 bands were, and yeah, it just kind of became this thing that I enjoy doing it, especially going through drive-throughs and stuff like that, and one of my motivations behind doing that too is just, and I think some of you have already expressed that, it's just you've discovered some connections with people that you never really knew you had. It's just kind of a fun way to start conversations, especially with maybe strangers. And I've yet to ask someone that didn't kind of light up behind it, Matter of fact, at one of the times I was going through a McDonald's drive-thru, I was going through to get a soda, and I asked the girl, and she turned and asked the guy that was sitting next to her, and no kidding, next thing you know, there were 5 people at the window. And they're all just going back and forth talking about, oh, I like blah, blah. And thank goodness there was like nobody else in line. So, but there were like 5 people at the drive-thru window, and we're just sitting there talking, throwing out band names and stuff like that. It's just a great conversation starter and just kind of a fun way to instantly interact with just about anybody. So again, that was my motivation behind doing it. But just some of the ones that I heard, one girl said Pat Bailey, Alice in Chains, and Nicki Minaj. There was another lady who was kind of funny because I asked her, because when I pulled up, she was actually singing what, it was a Zeppelin song. I think it was Whole Lot of Love. And so I asked her, I was like, who are your favorite three? She talked about Zeppelin, she mentioned the Rolling Stones, and she mentioned the Beatles. There was another girl who mentioned three bands well, one was Of Mice and Men, and there were two others, and I've asked so many people, I apologize. I left my little notes with her in my car. But yeah, just again, ton of people, a lot of different things. There was another guy who was Pink Floyd, I think he said the Doobie Brothers, and who was his third? Was it Blind Faith or something like that? Again, I apologize. I've asked so many people. I have all these names of bands I know they said, but trying to remember exactly who they went to, a little confusing. But yeah, I would say don't stop doing that just because the contest is over. Have fun with it. As much as we like talking about music, it's a great way to just kind of engage with people and have fun and yeah. So there you go, VC. There's my answers to the questions, and I'm going to do a room tour, not on this video because we're already at 21 minutes, but I'm going to do a separate room tour. I may try to knock that out in the next few minutes here. And yeah, again, thanks for entering. Not too late. Still have until August 10th, and we'll talk to you soon.